Hi fight fans, welcome back again to another episode with the African Fighters. And on today's episode, we'll be bringing you a roundup of everything happening in the world of combat sports. Stay with us. Alright, now Jorge Masvidal faces Gilbert Burns in UFC 287 co-main event on Saturday, but he's also involved in a never-ending feud with welterweight contender Colby Covington. Inside the cage at UFC 272, it was Covington that got the better of Masvidal, but it might have been Masvidal getting the better of Covington at a Miami restaurant weeks after the loss to Colby Covington. The build-up to the bout was particularly personal, with Covington mentioning members of Masvidal's family. It got so personal that it allegedly spilled outside of the cage. The restaurant incident left Masvidal charged with aggravated battery, resulting in great bodily harm and 1 count of criminal mischief. In a court filing, Covington claimed to have suffered a brain injury during the alleged assault, leaving Masvidal questioning how the UFC will allow Covington fight for a world title with a brain injury during the UFC 287 media day.
I currently got 3 felonies because this bitch Colby says I gave him a brain injury. So how the fuck are you gonna fight for any title is what I want to know. You know, like how could you? The UFC's gonna get sued if that guy goes in there.
Right now, staying in the UFC, Pozinbio meets Holland in the UFC welterweight bout on Saturday at UFC 287 main card at the Kaseya Center. Holland sent Pozinbio a private message on Instagram suggesting the pair fight at 185 pounds instead of cutting to 171 pounds, which is the welterweight limit. While Holland likes to joke around, Pozinbio wasn't having any of it. Pozinbio told reporters during Wednesday's UFC 287 media day, "If you don't know, we signed a contract. The contract states the weight. If he wants to change the weight, he needs to do so before signing the contract." He also went on to say that he will be willing to speak about conversations involving money and money only with Kevin Holland, but in terms of the weight, he will stick to what was signed in the contract. Alright, as we continue this massive anticipation to UFC 287 headliner Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira, former UFC light heavyweight champion Chuck Liddell, who has been helping middleweight title holder Alex Pereira prepare for his rematch with former champion Israel Adesanya, came out and gave some of his personal thoughts in an interview. He said he is doing great. I had a few things I wanted to help him with and things that I could add and see if he liked them. Most of them include some wrestling stuffs, said Liddell. I thought he picked it up well. Looking ahead to next Saturday, Liddell believes Adesanya has a lot to overcome mentally after losing all 3 times to Alex Pereira. In his words, he said, "I think it's going to be tough. I mean, he's lost to him 3 times now," said Liddell. That's got to be stuck in his head. It wasn't too long ago also the 3rd time. I'm thinking Alex Pereira will end it in round 3. Pereira has also talked about taking fights higher in the division as far up as the heavyweight class. Liddell was asked about how he thought Pereira would do as a light heavyweight or an heavyweight. In his response, he said he's got the size if he really wants to put it on. If he decides not to cut anymore, he can go up. He is big enough. I think he could make that transition easily. He's very strong for 185 and he can also hit very hard at 205. Alright, now Fury FC 76 main event on March 24 saw Edgar Chairez submit Gianni Vasquez in the 4th round. Referee Frank Colazzo watched on as multiple people screamed at him that Vasquez was unconscious due to the initial triangle before transitioning to a horrific armbar that actually woke Vasquez up and then he tapped out. In most sports, a mistake that leads to some sort of punishment, but Colazzo was allowed to judge fights at UFC San Antonio the next day despite one of the all-time refereeing blunders. While Vasquez is dealing with the injuries that clearly could have been avoided, injuries that could have cost his life and are now keeping him out of action for several months.
Frank, what? Oh my gosh, Frank, it's done! Frank, it's done! What are you doing? It's done!
I think he's tapping with his
What
foot.
is he doing?
So it's crazy.
Tap, oh my gosh, what is happening?
Chairez, on the other hand, has faced widespread backlash from fans since the incident, receiving direct messages accusing him of purposely trying to hurt Vasquez or calling him a dirty fighter, among other things. In addition to how the fight ended, the one-time Contender Series competitor missed weight ahead of the bout, which has only added to that backlash. He has responded to these critics saying he tried to get the referee to end the fight, but the referee just stood there and watched. Despite the way things played out, Chavez is happy to get a victory, even if he doesn't necessarily feel as if he won. There was a moment where I thought he was actually faking it, maybe, so I could let go, because the referee wasn't doing anything about it, Chavez said in an interview through his translator. Alright, former welterweight champion Robert Whittaker is all in on Colby Covington's UFC welterweight title shot. The UFC is planning to have the welterweight champion Leon Edwards next defend his title against Colby Covington, which has caused quite a stir throughout the community. Whittaker, however, doesn't have any issue, like most others do, with the way things are playing out. I think that fight between Leon and Masvidal will be great, Whittaker told Main Event. Everybody has been wanting the fight. I think it's a good fight for Masvidal. I think that's a great fight for him, but I don't like him skipping the queue over Covington. I believe Covington deserves it. I know people are saying otherwise, but I think in my opinion, Colby deserves the shot because he has put a beating on most of the people in that division. Right, now moving on to former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. PFL president Ray Steffel is still pursuing one of the biggest free agents in the market. Former heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou parted ways with the UFC in 2022, but is yet to find a new home. Among the offers he received is from the PFL, who appear willing to work around Ngannou's demand. Ngannou is laser focused on boxing, something he couldn't come to terms with the UFC. That is correct. We have had few meetings with Francis and those discussions are still ongoing, Steffel told reporters. Obviously, there is a few other things he also wants to pursue, which is boxing, and he knows our stance on that. So I believe everything is positive. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship president David Feldman was also touted to be trying to recruit the former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, but has now come out to openly admit that he has absolutely tried to reach out to Ngannou and spoke with him on several occasions. He said they spoke with him and his team, and at this point they feel like he's asking for unrealistic money that they will not be willing to offer him. BKFC president also went on to say that he thinks Francis Ngannou needs to make up his mind on his next decision pretty soon. As the days goes on, his value starts to drop, said David Feldman. Do you agree with BKFC president that time is running out on Francis Ngannou to make a decision? Where do you think it will end up? Leave your comment in the comment section. Thanks for watching.
Louder! We are Africans. Come on, Africans!